Welcome back to Focus Today, and what a delight to have back with us today Joe Messina. He's the host of the Real Side Radio Show, broadcasted in about 42 states, 38 countries, all on the internet. Joe's also been previously a successful business owner. He's held executive positions, and he does a lot of research and has a lot to say, and he's just a cool dude. And I'm delighted to have him back. Hi, Joe. How you doing, buddy?
I'm delighted to be back. Thanks for that. I don't know if I'm really cool, though.
Well, listen, there's so much to talk about. I don't know what you're getting feedback on your radio show. Where do you think the presidential race is right now between Trump and Hillary?
You know, it's funny. We were just talking about this the other night on the show, where most of the calls I'm getting now are pro-Trump. And even the ones that call in and say, look, I've been a lifelong Democrat. My party is done with me. They're giving me the same old. They're not helping me out. And there's just no way I can vote for Hillary Clinton, so I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. So what I'm seeing is a very large number of people calling in, and I have listeners from both sides of the aisle. You know, as my emails prove, you know, I've got people from the far left, from the middle, and from the far right. So I have a real good feeling, and then depending on where you're at, that Donald Trump will win this.
All right. Some have said the race is boiled down to 18% of the black vote, Ohio and Florida. You agree?
Yeah, no, actually, I don't agree. Here's the thing. I really, truly believe these polls are skewed. A lot of people don't want to admit that they're voting for Donald Trump. Listen, I've got a large black audience, and I don't know why, but I do. And a lot of them are telling me they're going to vote for Donald because, you know, one of the comments that he made, you've been voting for them for the last 50 or 60 years. You know, give me a chance. How worse off could you be? And he's exactly right. They've been voting for the same people for the last 50 or 60 years. They are no better off. Matter of fact, they are worse off in the last 8 years than they have been over the last 40 or 50 years. Donald can't do any worse. If anything, for them, he'll do much better.
All right, let's take a look at some of this, Joe. His numbers are going up. Hillary's are coming down. Is it email scandals, or is Donald's new management having an effect on him? He's sticking to the teleprompter. What do you think the deal is?
Well, you know what? He's sticking to the teleprompter until he gets in front of a crowd. Like, you know, when he went from Mexico to Arizona, he stuck to the teleprompter, but he had his moments. And I think that's I know this is going to sound weird, right? But that's what's endearing about him is that, you know deep down inside where he's at. You don't have to worry or second guess or get a college degree to figure out where Donald Trump is coming from. And I think that's what people like about him. He's not a politico. You know, he's not from the inside. Yeah, okay, some people want to throw the fact that he's played with all these politicians all these years, but he's not from the inside. And that's why I think, you know, the Republicans are raising money to come against him. So think about this. The old guard is petrified of this man. The old guard is petrified of doing business a different way. As far as his numbers go, I think Hillary's numbers are dropping, not just because of the email. The picture is being painted, about a dictatorship that's coming to Washington, D.C. This picture of, think about what she's gotten away with. Think about how she won't admit to pretty much everything she's done wrong or most of what she's done wrong. And once she gets in there with the fact that Mr. Obama's getting away with so much, the Republicans haven't stopped them. Now she gets in there already feeling like she's above the law. People are afraid that we're going to end up with a dictator.
Interesting. Mark Levin came out yesterday and said, all right, I'm voting for Trump. Now, there's a little bit of a break in the ice, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But here's the thing with Levin. I watched what came down on him on Facebook, which was really interesting, that his avid listeners, lovers, whatever, have come against him now and said, why are you doing this? You tell us to vote our conscience. You tell us to do the right thing. He needs to come back and not just respond to them, but respond as a whole, saying, you need to think about this. You need to think about your grandchildren. You need to think about what's going to go on over the next 40 years. What I tell my listeners is, we know what Hillary Clinton will do. We've already seen it. We've already seen her actions and her husband's actions, so we know exactly what she's going to lay down. Trump, we don't know what he's going to do. All these things that they say that he's going to do, if you look at his business life, yes, he's had a few failures. He's had a lot more successes. He hires more women in high positions in his company than pretty much any other, including Mitt Romney. did. So you look at what Donald Trump has done as a whole, and I'm not a big Donald Trump supporter, but I'll tell you what, I'd be much more comfortable with him sitting in that chair than I would be with her.
Okay. Now, a lot of people think that that what's happening to Clinton now, this email explosion that just seems to mushroom every day, is having somewhat of an impact. But a lot of people just flat don't care. They're on overload. They've been Clintonized to death, but they're still going to vote for her. What's your take on that?
Oh, that's that. I joke with it on the air, and I say that's in the DNA. There's no, it is this thing that the thought process is Republicans are bad, conservatives are bad, and it doesn't matter who we have. We could have a till of a hun on the Dem side. I got to vote for the Dem, and we've been painted into a corner that we're really bad people. And I think the Republicans do a terrible job at touting their accomplishments over the years. And for the last couple of years, frankly, we've looked like a bunch of buffoons. We said that we were going to go in and change certain things. We were going to repeal Obamacare. We were going to come back with a better plan. We were going to keep spending down, and we haven't done any of that. We haven't done anything we promised to do 2 years ago. And I wrote about it. I said, we won, now what? Unless we change leadership, unless we steer the ship in a little bit of a different direction, we're going to lose again. We're going to hand the 2016 election to the Democrats. So I think people are just at that point where they want something different. They want their politicians to tell them the truth and actually make an attempt at doing what they say they're going to do.
It appears that the DNC is concentrating more on winning the Senate than they are pushing Hillary into the White House.
I think you're right. I think you're onto something. It's not just the Senate, though. It's the House as well, because I know in my neck of the woods in Southern California, Nancy Pelosi is spending about $16 million just in about a 50-mile radius of the area I'm in, because we have a couple of congressional seats that still belong to Republicans here, and she wants those seats. She's also even pouring some money into more local races, more the state races, Senate in our area, Senate and Assembly. So They see a crack here. They think that the down ticket's going to suffer tremendously under Donald Trump. I don't agree with that. Again, I'm going to go right back to what I said to you before. Look who's coming out to see Donald Trump. Look who's coming out to see Hillary Clinton. I think this is nuts. And I think that if you look at the people running for Senate, people running for the House on the Dem side, they're not cozying up to Hillary either. They're keeping a bit of a distance.
Yeah, but I think what I'm saying here, Joe, is that the DNC recognizes Hillary's in trouble and she's weak. And the one thing they can do to keep their message and their ideology alive is take the House and the Senate.
Yeah, no, hey, you're right. The DNC is going to put money where they think it's going to do the best, but they can't abandon her. Remember something. This is a machine. The Clinton machine is exactly that. I call it the Clinton Mafia. I've written about this. If you look at how they operate, how they do business, it's no different than a mafia organization in these big cities across the country. I don't think the DNC can totally turn their back on her. I think they have to at least show that they're supporting her in some way, shape, manner, or form, because she's bringing money in for them as well. She's bringing money in for these races. But you're right. They are really pushing. They are really focusing on some of these Senate races where they think they can take these states that seem to be turning towards Dem. But I don't believe they are. Again, I believe people are not telling the truth on these polls.
All right, let me say this before we take a break. You can listen to Joe. His website is realside.com, therealside.com, and check out his website and his radio show. All right, before I take a break, Paul Ryan in trouble as Speaker of the House?
He'll be back in. We don't have the guts to move him along. I think Paul Ryan is the beginning of the new progressive Republican movement. We can talk about that on the other side if you want to.
Okay, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back with our buddy Joe in just a moment.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
All right, welcome back to Focus Today, and delighted to have back with us our good friend Joe Messina. He's the host of the Real Side Radio Show. Love that title. Real Side Radio Show, and you can listen to him online, therealside.com. Therealside.com. Not only his website, but a good place to connect and listen to his broadcasts. He's all over about 42 states, 38 countries, and does a wonderful job. Hey, Joe, before I get too far down the line here, where do you think the faith community is today relative to Trump?
I'm so glad you asked that question. My wife and I, we attend a very diverse church here in Los Angeles, and she's been doing voter registration at the church. So we've been, I've been watching what's going on, watch who comes to the table. I don't really hang with her. I let her do her thing. And in talking with some of my friends in the faith community, a lot of them understand what's at stake here, but they don't understand the depth of what's at stake. So if they're a Dem, they tend to want to vote for Hillary. And so they're voting. It's really funny how they're Christians, but they're willing to vote party lines. The ones that are voting for Trump that I've spoken with, they don't really know where he stands from a religious standpoint, or from a godly standpoint. And I got to tell you, personally, that bothers me. It bothers me that as Christians, we go to the polls and we don't pay attention. We don't look at what does the Bible say, that if we, when we elect godly men, that the kingdom is at peace? We don't do that. We don't think about that. We don't think about the importance of that. So I think the faith community needs to really step up, stop, think, and be prayerful over who they vote for. But people don't really know why they're voting for, as I see, with the people I speak to in the faith community. They don't really know why they're voting for Trump when they vote. They're just voting most of the time party lines, and she does scare them a little bit. But man, it was an eye-opener for me 2 weekends in a row in talking with my brothers and sisters in Christ and seeing how they approach politics, how they approach who they're voting for.
All right. Certainly not as a supporting Trump in any direct way here, but it's interesting. His Vice President Pence, when nominated, said, "I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, and I'm a Republican," in that order.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And, so his running mate is a strong believer. He's reached out to the faith community and put together a evangelical advisory committee. He reached out where about 150 pastors came. I mean, you don't see any of that on the Hillary side. So it appears to me that, A, he understands the value of the Christian vote. Dr. Dobson gone as far as saying that he is a baby believer. Be patient with him. So there are some signs there, but you are absolutely right. That message is not resonating among the faith community.
No, and it's really funny because when Barack Obama first won, or when he was first running, you know how people on the right and people on the left were dealing with it. I said, look, he is our president now. We are called to pray for our leaders. You need to pray for him. Now, the nice thing about Barack Obama at the time, what I said was, he's a Christian. We are on the same network, if you would. We can pray for God to reach him and guide him and direct him. Well, my personal feeling is we got a little bit of a surprise there. Well, it's the same thing here now. I'm not willing to judge whether he really knows Jesus or not. I'm going to pray for the man. I've been told by a prominent Christian that he did accept Christ, and we all know it takes a while to figure it out. The man is in the middle of a presidential race, so we need to pray for him. But again, to our Christian friends listening out there, you are not a Democrat or Republican when it comes to the things of God. That has nothing to do with anything. You need to either get on your knees if that's how you pray, and you need to ask God for guidance in this situation. And what I would say to you is, look at the freedoms, and we're not being persecuted like they are in the Middle East, obviously, but look at the freedoms that have been hampered today at this point with a particular party sitting in office. Now you've got Hillary Clinton, who will continue that on. Will she really protect your right to worship openly and freely? Will she really protect your free speech when it comes to your religious rights? Or will Donald Trump do that? Which one do you think you have a better shot with?
Yeah, very well said. All right, let me come back to the ongoing FBI revelations of the emails, and now that some of this stuff has been made public, and the connection between her and now Senator Mendez as it relates to the Benghazi hearings. I mean, just unbelievable stuff that's coming out. Do you think that all along Comey knew that he couldn't get an indictment through the DOJ as boss, so he did what he did so all this stuff would surface?
You know what? That's a great question. I got to tell you, I've been thinking about what went down to begin with and why he didn't come to it frankly, why they didn't come to this decision honestly. You know, I wrote about the things that she's done in the past and the people that were involved with the Clintons that have been killed over the years. And I was thinking to myself, when you look at the Attorney General, you look at Comey, if this was any other person other than a Clinton, and I mean any other person other than a Clinton or an Obama, they would already be in handcuffs. They would already be lawyered up. We'd already see some action. I really think they're afraid of the Clinton family, the Clinton mafia, the Clinton machine, whatever you want to call it. Comey, I think, is as a lot of people say, he was a man of integrity. I have a friend of mine that actually works for the FBI. He was floored because up to a certain point, they were sure that she was going to be indicted. And then all of a sudden, within a matter of 10 days, it all seemed to take a 180-degree turn. They were floored. So I think the release of these emails, I mean, we've got a federal judge that's pushing these things. So there's a lot, you and I both know, and so do other Americans, there's a lot more here than we've seen already. And I think the release of these emails are proving it. But yes, people are email burnt out, if you would. We should have hit this head on from day one. We should have stayed on it. It should have been one of our mantras, people on the radio, if you would. And we should not have let up on this. And we should continue to do so because I think, as you said earlier, it is affecting her numbers. Not to the degree I would like to see them, but it is affecting her numbers.
All right. So if you're Assange and you got control of WikiLeaks, do you release the bomb before the presidential debates or after?
Listen, I would, if I had 20,000 of those, it would be 5,000 a week, and I guarantee it wouldn't be on a Friday. I would be releasing these things and not drip, but here's a chunk. Next week, more to come, part 2, and here's another chunk, and so on and so forth. And I would highlight the nasties on those, big time.
Well, they're yet to happen. He's promising some kind of a bomb drop. It's just going to be interesting to see when. All right, but there is a connection now that has surfaced that the Armed Services Committee Chairman, Senator Mendez, apparently collaborated with Clinton on the questions that were going to be asked on her Benghazi investigation. I mean, how troubling is that?
Well, are you really surprised? I know you're supposed to be asking the questions, but are you really surprised by this? The corruption at government at this point, I mean, if she gets in as president, I've been saying all week long, we will now be known as the Union of Soviet Socialist, Americans. It will change. I'm kind of feeling already like that. When you look, the Clintons aren't even in office, and they're running this country to a degree. Mr. Obama's on his way out. He's truly a lame duck president. He's fighting for camera attention, for God's sakes. So you look at what's going on right now, and they are running this country. I'm not surprised, really, truly, I'm not surprised by any of this. I grew up in the 70s in Boston when the mafia was very prominent in the area that I grew up in. I've seen that kind of control. I don't see it as changing unless we get Republican control and the Republicans grow a spine and Republicans do the job they say they're going to do. I don't see anything changing that much.
Hillary's health keeps coming back into question, not only because of her coughing spats, but there's even some articles out there this morning that says that she meets all of the precursors of pre-Parkinson's disease. Do you think that her health should be an issue, will become an issue?
Well, look, if her health was she had some heart issues or she had some liver trouble or, the things that could be easily taken care of with medication that don't really get in the way of your mental faculties, it wouldn't be a big issue for me. But this is different. This is a different issue, a different problem. And I think that when it comes to issues like this, it should be a big deal. I don't know if you're a watcher of Dr. Drew. I'm not, but I've read some articles around it. And he came out on CNN and he said they looked at the medical report. Nothing really stood out to them till they started seeing some of her actions. And then he said, I went back to her report. And everything, I can't remember the name of the disease, but there's some kind of blood disease where the blood doesn't coagulate properly. And he said, as I looked at her actions and I went back and looked at the report, she has a serious condition, and I can't remember what the condition name is, but the bottom line is, yes, she's got a condition that'll keep her from governing properly. We're going to end up with her vice president as president if she gets in and goes down that line within a few years.
Donald Trump said yesterday to Hillary, "You released the 33,000 emails. I'll release my tax return." Was that was that a checkmate?
I think it's more than a checkmate. I think he should have gone. Why stop at 33,000? I'm sure there's 60 or 70,000 of those emails out there that she knows about that are wandering around. You know, the NSA has raised their hand a couple of weeks back and said nobody's asked us for anything. In other words, we've got a bucket here, more than happy to give you. Just let us know. I think Trump should go after this. I think if he does it civilly, if he doesn't look like he's like pounding on her, I think he could make some headway with this. Say, look, we keep seeing these emails come up, emails that you keep saying you've already turned in, but the FBI keep turning up more and more and more. So why don't we just get this out in the open? Turn them all in. You keep saying you want to do this anyhow. Just do it before you're asked for it. If you've got nothing to hide, there's no problem here.
I don't care who the moderator is, Joe. How can she possibly go before Trump in a debate without all of these unanswered questions and lack of news conferences being the mainline questioning to her?
Well, you really think, if you look at the moderators, do you really think they're going to question her that hard on those kind of things? My only fear in a debate with her, with Donald Trump, is look how he handled himself with the 16 or 17 others when he was in the Republican forums or debates. He cannot appear to attack her. He has to attack her policies. He has to show how her policies are very much like Mr. Obama's, and they're not working for us. And if she continues them on, they're going to be worse. The minute he turns and starts attacking her for her health or attacking her on some of those other things, I think that's going to be a problem for him. I think he's going to turn off many of those voters that would have jumped the aisle. But when they see what they perceive to be as the nastiness of Mr. Trump, he's got to be careful. That's my personal opinion. He has to be careful in how he handles those.
But she's being advised to get under his skin so he does react personally.
Right.
I mean, he's got to be really on guard for that.
Oh yeah, but wouldn't you? If you were on the other side of the podium from him, you know where his weakness is, and you're right. I would be poking him in those weaknesses, so he would flare up. So he would, maybe go off at the podium, if you would.
Well, you're a delight, Joe. Let's stay connected, okay?
Yes, sir.
We're 60 some odd days out. You and I can have a lot of fun with this. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, go to Joe's website. It's therealside.com, therealside.com, and there you can listen to his radio show. When do you go live from L.A.? When do you do that?
We are live 6 to 9, Monday through Fridays. We have a lot of fun on the show, as you can imagine. We're heard on 32 stations across the country. Check it out. See if we're on one near you.
Okay, therealside.com. Thanks, Joe. Let's connect again soon, okay, buddy?
Always fun. Welcome to come back.
All right, God bless. All right, we'll be right back.